8:47 p.m. The garage door is still down. I'm sitting in the driver's seat of the car, the engine cut, but the headlights are still throwing two bright circles against the drywall. It's quiet, that heavy suburban quiet. The only sound is the faint tick, tick, tick of the manifold cooling down and the distant hum of a neighbor's leaf blower a few houses over. I'm staring at my phone. It's a notification from the HR portal. Congratulations on your promotion. I'd been waiting for this for 2 years. I knew the numbers before I even opened the PDF. My base was moving from $85,000 to $115,000. It's the kind of jump that's supposed to change things. It's the making it moment. But I didn't call my wife. I didn't text my parents. I just sat there in the dark, watching the dashboard lights dim and eventually go out. I thought this was the number that was supposed to make me feel safe. My name is Jim, and I spend way too much time thinking about why the things we strive for don't feel the way we expect them to. I started doing the math in my head, just staring at the steering wheel. I saw the 30 grand gap, but then I started seeing the other numbers. The jump in the tax bracket, the extra withholdings. By the time I factored in the new deductions, that $2, $500 a month raise was looking a lot more like $700 in actual take-home pay. It's a good amount of money. It's more than most. But then I looked at the new calendar invite that had already populated for Monday morning, a 7:30 a.m. strategic alignment call. If I'm making $30,000 more, why do I feel less able to slow down? The promotion didn't come with a manual, but it came with an unwritten contract. More stakeholders. More critical fires to put out. More reasons why I couldn't just turn the phone off on a Saturday afternoon. Nobody forced me into it. Nobody even asked if I wanted the trade-off. It was just the next step. I reached for the door handle, but I didn't pull it. I just sat there in the driveway, looking at the house I pay for but barely see in the daylight. That's when it hit me. The raise didn't change my life. It quietly removed my exit. I didn't step out of the car. I just watched a neighbor walk their dog past my driveway, their silhouette flickering under the streetlights. It's a strange thing. I don't feel poor. I'm not struggling to buy groceries or wondering if the heat will stay on. By every metric I grew up with, I've arrived. But looking at that promotion notice, I realized that my ability to just stop had become the most expensive thing I could never afford. A few years ago, if I decided to disappear for 2 weeks, it would have been an inconvenience, maybe a few angry emails. But now, the stakes have shifted. If I didn't show up for a few weeks, things wouldn't just pause. They'd start to slide. Between the mortgage, the insurance premiums, and the private childcare that's now factored into every single month, it's like I've built a machine that requires a specific, high-octane fuel just to keep from seizing up. Nothing here is optional anymore. Not the car payments, not the premium health plan, not the strategic role. On paper, a 30 grand raise sounds like a different life. It sounds like $2,500 more every month to breathe, to save, to finally feel some slack. But then you start looking at the real delta. After federal taxes, state taxes, and payroll, that $2,500 shrinks faster than you expect. Roughly $700, maybe $850 if I'm lucky with the withholdings. It's enough for a nicer car lease or a few more dinners out, sure, but it's not enough to buy back a single Tuesday afternoon. This was the number that was supposed to change the air. I thought $115,000 was the threshold where the pressure would let up. Instead, the paper raise and the real-life delta just confirmed something I hadn't wanted to admit. The more I earn, the more I'm tied to the chair. I finally pulled the door handle. The interior light came on, revealing the dry cleaning hanging in the back seat and a stray toy on the floor mat. I realized I wasn't being rewarded for my talent. I was being compensated for the fact that I no longer have a way out. I walked through the door and threw my keys on the granite counter. It's a nice counter. Everything in the house is nice. But as I stood there, in the quiet of the kitchen, I started thinking about the things they never put on the offer letter. When you see that $115,000 figure, you don't see the calendar. You don't see the way the white space on your screen slowly gets swallowed by 7:30 a.m. sinks, and the Slack pings that start arriving just as you're sitting down for dinner. Nobody asked me to trade my evenings. It just came with the title. If you look at the data, most people in this bracket, the six-figure knowledge workers, aren't working 40 hours. It's 50. It's 55. And when you do the math on that hourly rate, the promotion starts to look a lot different. The raise didn't add flexibility. It hardened everything. It's like I've built a stack of fixed costs that's become a permanent architecture. The mortgage, the property taxes, the insurance, that's already eating 40% of the take-home before I even wake up. Then there's the SUV lease at $650. And the $1, $200 for the kids' after-school programs and activities. Oh, and then there's the lifestyle maintenance. The dry cleaning, the lawn service, the convenience fees we pay because we're too tired to do it ourselves. Each one of these is a brick, and together, they've built a wall. I thought about a guy I know who makes $60,000. He struggles, sure. He talks about it openly, but his overhead is light. If he wants to quit and drive across the country for a month, he can probably figure it out. His margin for error is actually wider than mine. At 120 grand, I don't have a margin for error. I have a high revenue, zero margin life. I'm like a bloated corporation that's too big to fail, but too heavy to move. I can't afford to be wrong. I can't afford to be tired. I can't afford a gap year. The system is perfectly tuned. I earn more, so I commit to more, which means I have to earn even more just to keep the commit from breaking. I looked at the promotion letter one last time before closing the laptop. It wasn't a ladder. It was a tether. Nobody hands you a physical document. There's no fine print to read. But the moment that new salary hits, the expectations settle in like a heavy fog. It's subtle. It's the way your neighbors look at your driveway, or the way you feel like you have to dress the part for the board meeting. You start looking at houses in the better school district because that's what people at your level do. You don't call it spending, you call it an investment in your family's future. But really, you're just upgrading the cage. And here's the part nobody tells you. The more you earn, the more fragile the whole structure becomes. I sat there in the dark kitchen, thinking about a statistic I read. Most people in my position, earning well into the six figures, don't actually have a safety net. Their fixed costs are so high, often devouring 70% or more of their take-home pay, that they have less than 6 months of runway. I realized that if my income stopped tomorrow, the machinery wouldn't care. The mortgage doesn't have an empathy clause. The car lease doesn't pause because I'm burnt out. The obligations keep running at full speed, even if the engine producing the money has stalled. I'm not staying in this job because I'm passionate about strategic alignment. I'm staying because I literally cannot afford the gap. It's the ultimate irony. On the outside, I look like the person with the most options. On the inside, I'm the one who can least afford to walk away. I've reached the level where I'm earning more than I ever dreamed, yet I've never felt less free to change my mind. I turned off the kitchen light. The house was silent, but I could still hear the invisible gears turning, counting down to the next automatic payment. I've won the game, but I've lost the ability to stop playing. I went upstairs and stood by the window, looking out at the street. Every house on this block is a version of mine. Quiet, manicured, and expensive. But as I stood there, I realized I'd been measuring the wrong thing. What if the real milestone isn't a salary? What if safety isn't how much you make or what your title says on a LinkedIn update, but simply how long you could stop? If I stopped today, my life would hit a wall in months, maybe weeks. All that success hasn't bought me a second of stillness. It's only increased the speed I have to run to keep the walls from closing in. I didn't feel poorer. I felt heavier, like every month added weight instead of room. Like I was building a monument to a life I was too busy to actually live. I looked at the promotion letter on my phone one last time before the screen went black. I realized that the exit wasn't something I could buy with a raise. It was something I had quietly traded away, one automatic decision at a time. And the most uncomfortable part? I didn't even notice it was gone until the door locked behind me. The headlights are still throwing those two bright circles against the garage door. I'm sitting here, exactly where I started. But the dashboard looks different now. The promotion letter is still glowing on my phone, but the numbers don't look like a victory anymore. They look like a commitment. My name is Jim, and I've spent too long chasing a version of success that I never actually defined. Because in this moment, looking at the house and the SUVs and the life I've carefully assembled, I realized the problem isn't the money. The problem is that nothing in my life could slow down anymore. We're taught that a bigger paycheck is the ultimate buffer against the world. But here's the part nobody tells you. High income doesn't make you rich. It just raises the minimum speed you have to run. It's a very expensive arrangement. You earn $115,000, but you build a $110,000 life. You increase the revenue, but you keep the margin at zero. And when the margin is zero, you have zero optionality. You aren't building a safety net. You're just building a bigger engine that requires more and more fuel just to stay at idle. I started thinking about the people I know. There's the guy with the title and the corner office who couldn't afford to miss 3 months of work without his entire world collapsing. Then there's the person with a much smaller salary, but enough room in their life to walk away for a year if they had to. One of them looks more successful. The other one is actually free. I've realized that the exit isn't a specific number in a bank account. It's the ability to say no. It's the feeling of not panicking when the email doesn't arrive or when the promotion goes to someone else. It's knowing that if the income stopped tomorrow, your life wouldn't fall apart. But for most households, earning 6 figures, that's not the reality. The statistics say we can't even cover 6 months of expenses without a paycheck. We've traded our runway for a faster car. I looked at the clock. 9:12 p.m. If your income disappeared tomorrow, how long would your life keep running? Are you building a higher salary or a longer runway? I finally turned off the headlights. The darkness felt heavier than it did 30 minutes ago. The raise didn't change my life. It just made leaving impossible.